Hollywood hates femininity, even though they would have you think otherwise. Over the last decade, female-led movies have been all the rage, though most women don't like these characters or haven't even heard of them. Hollywood has told us repeatedly that men need to get off their metaphorical throne and move over so women can have a seat. But instead of celebrating femininity or creating good movies, they've just taken over the traditionally masculine movies and replaced them with female characters. Maybe they want to replace masculinity or just show that women are awesome too. Either way, Hollywood has told us that the movies we loved traditionally that were led by male characters were non-inclusive. This is a form of DEI stating that women need more representation, because apparently women can't get inspired unless they see another woman on screen, because no woman has ever been inspired by a man before. In my opinion, you don't need someone to look like you in order to be inspired by them, and I'll die on that hill. It seems as though the activists behind this movies want to say anything men can do, women can do better. And so far over the years, that hasn't really worked out for them. Why? Well, mainly because female-led characters are often unrelatable to everybody, especially women. In recent years, the female-led movies have often introduced us to a character who is emotionless, stoic, and can already do everything, which makes for a pretty boring movie, and they don't get to go through the traditional hero's journey where they hone their skills and get better at anything. Female-led movies can be done correctly, but since they've been giving us this sludge, I'm gonna say that this is a bigger problem with society. Movies are often a reflection of the time, and sometimes creatives hold a mirror up to the audience to show us about ourselves. Sometimes that's intentional, and sometimes it's unintentional, like these movies. In my opinion, we're living in a matriarchal society, and let me explain what that means real quick. A matriarchy refers to when femininity holds most of the power or influence. This doesn't necessarily mean that women are more powerful than men, but the feminine way of looking at the world is accepted more by men and women. The patriarchy, of course, is the opposite, when the masculine way of looking at things is more accepted by men and women. I think society goes through shifts in mindset where they go back and forth between masculine and feminine ways of thinking, and neither one of them is better or worse than the other one. They're just different. Men and women both have masculine and feminine inclinations, and whether you'll have a masculine or feminine inclination is multifactorial, and it depends on a lot of things, like biology, how you were raised, your personal relationships, any trauma you've been through. And maternity says you are perfect the way you are, you don't need to change, and you are loved unconditionally. This is very important for us to have growing up, as a child and even as an adult, and it's very well intentioned. The problem is if you don't have that balance of patriarchal love, and the patriarchy is defined by a challenge. So it says, you are okay, but you can be better, you can do better, you can do more, you can be assertive and aggressive and get what you want in the world. Without having the balance of those two poles, you can lean to one side or the other, and both have their downfalls. For example, if you lean more towards the maternal side, you tend to be egocentric, self-entitled, and you write movies about your life experience. And on the other side of things, if you have too much of the patriarchal, too much of people telling you you can do better and be better, you get a sense of worthlessness. So both have their strengths and their downfalls. Both have their positive side and their shadow side. If you're lucky enough to have both maternal and paternal love, you're probably more of a well-rounded individual, and you can probably bounce back and forth between masculine and feminine and use them strategically to help you get ahead in life. I believe that's why it's so important to restore the nuclear family, but I'll save that for another video. Anyway, the characters that come out of this maternal way of thinking are often cocky and need the world to recognize who they are and to recognize their greatness. And we typically associate this with men who are very insecure. Ironically, it seems like the feminine way of thinking to these activists are weaker or inferior to the male counterpart, which couldn't be further from the truth. Traditionally, having a feminine side of you is associated with thinking strategically and letting the enemy destroy itself by its own actions. The feminine sits back, it's very creative and intuitive. Patriarchy is often looked at as more aggressive and assertive, but this can also lead to a lack of thinking before acting. Why can't we teach girls that femininity is something powerful and not something that you need to compete with a man for? And conversely, why can't we teach men that having a feminine mindset is a lot more productive in some situations than having an aggressive mindset? Apparently, these activists think that wearing a dress and heels and liking pink and the traditionally feminine stuff is a more inferior way to be in society. It seems like they say that you should be a warrior and an aggressor and be able to be capable of violence, and that women should move away from being a delicate flower type figure and move into their masculine, when they can honestly be both. And then there's Barbie, a frilly, fluffy, feminine movie that absolutely destroyed at the box office, and it showed that if men and women want to celebrate femininity, that they'll show up in droves for it. Barbie did better than any of the movies that came out in the last decade with these women warrior types. Barbie's pink, colorful world was a far cry from the dark, dull, gray, masculine archetypes that we've seen before. Now let me say this. All female-led movies don't need to be a fluffy fairy tale in order to do a feminine character correctly. Female-led movies can be about a businesswoman, a superhero, a warrior, a mom, a president. Women can do or be anything, and not because women are just inherently good, but because with a little determination, grit, hard work, determination, and heart, anything is possible. As humans, we want to see people win who deserve to win, no matter what they look like. This new matriarchal society that we're living in has too many men and women living their best life, devoid of purpose or meaning, and chasing endless pleasures, wondering why they have crippling anxiety. Female-led movies should inspire the viewer to reach for new heights, and men don't need to be belittled in the process. Oftentimes, some of the greatest women in history have been inspired by fathers or men who have set a courageous example for them. I say all this to say, if a female character is written correctly, it should not only inspire women, but it should inspire men. That's all I have for today, guys. I'm Dave Blacks. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you like this video, give it a like and subscribe, and let me know if you agree down in the comments. Let me know if I was wrong in a certain way. I'm open to learning new information or having a different kind of perspective. With that being said, that's it, and go watch a movie.